and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Sue Piers, and I am a Principal Financial Performance Management Consultant with LPA Software Solutions. Today I have with me Amanda Fisher from Werner Co. And together we're going to share with you the story around Werner Co.'s climb to IBM Planning Analytics in the cloud. I'm going to give Amanda a few seconds here to introduce herself, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Hello, my name is Amanda, and I've been a business systems analyst at Werner Co. for the past 3 years. I've worked with Cognos for the past 10 years doing reporting, data modeling, and creating transformer cubes. During the past year, with Sue's help from LPA, I've taken on the planning analytics development as well.
Thanks, Amanda. Okay, for our agenda today, we're going to give you a little overview of both LPA and Werner Co. We're going to talk through some of the business challenges that Werner saw as they were moving to the cloud, as well as with their production aggregate plan, which is why they moved it into planning analytics. We'll talk through the solution, speak to some benefits gained by Werner Co. in getting to the cloud, as well as by moving the production aggregate plan out of Excel and into planning analytics. Then Amanda will come back and talk a little bit about future plans and lessons learned. As we go through today, should you have any questions, please type them into the chat window and we'll address them during the question and answer section. Okay, a little bit about LPA Software Solutions. We are an IBM Platinum Business Partner, headquartered in Rochester, New York. We have consultants peppered throughout the United States and clients across several different industries, and we continue to grow as we added over 40 new clients each of the past 3 years. As I said, we are an IBM Platinum Business Partner, with our only other partnership coming with Pitney Bowes for location and intelligence data. Our consultants have over 100 technical certifications and an average of 10 years experience with expertise in data warehousing, ETL, predictive analytics, business analytics, and financial performance management, as well as advanced analytics and cognitive computing. At LPA, our offerings cover the entire IBM analytics stack, starting with a roadmap and development or a strategy and roadmap session where we can come in, learn about where you are in your analytics journey, where you want to be, and then help you develop a strategy and roadmap to get there. Moving out to data warehousing and big data using solutions such as Netezza, which Werner Co. uses, or maybe DashDB. Then on to business intelligence and financial performance management, which is where IBM Cognos Analytics and Planning Analytics live. And then out into advanced and cognitive analytics using solutions such as Watson Analytics, SPSS, integrating weather data, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Amanda so she can tell you a little bit about Werner Co.
The Werner Company was founded in 1922. We are currently headquartered in Greenville, Pennsylvania. We started making aluminum ladders after World War II. Currently, we offer a full line of climbing products, fall protection, and job site storage boxes. We have manufacturing, office, and distribution facilities all over the globe. Werner is currently privately owned. Through growth and acquisition of new products, over the past 5 years, we've doubled into over 100 countries. Shown here are just some of the brands that we offer. Shown here is the timeline of the Werner Company from its conception in 1922 by the Werner family to now. Our latest acquisition, not shown here, is the Zarges Group in early 2018. They are a large manufacturer of aluminum ladders and access products in Germany, France, and Hungary. And now we're going to discuss some of our original business challenge. So we were a legacy on-prem TM1 customer, and during one of our renewals, we made the decision to participate in the Bridge to Cloud program for TM1 Planning Analytics. And so we began our climb to the cloud. We got our cloud environment provisioned, We set up the secure gateway and the ODBC connection to pull directly from our on-prem AS400 database. But that's when things slowed down for us. Our TM1 processes that ran in seconds on-prem were taking 10 to 20 minutes when running in the cloud. So that was our first challenge. We needed our TM1 processes to run in seconds just like they did on-prem. Since we had an Netezza box, we decided to give that a try to see if performance would improve. We got the Netezza ready, we reported the processes, and the times improved to pretty much the same as on-prem. Things were looking good. Next, we needed to get our users involved to start testing things out. We have users that run reports and TM1 processes on-prem using Cafe and Perspectives. Before they could test, we needed to install packs on their PCs. Only you can't have packs and Cafe on the same PC at the same time. So back to the drawing board on that one, and we'll talk through options for getting over this hump later in the presentation. It was at this time that the business approached us with another opportunity for TM1. It centered around our production aggregate plan. The production aggregate plan is how we keep our production and inventory in line so that we are optimizing production and keeping it smooth while not overbuilding or running out of inventory. This process was currently being done entirely in Excel. The production aggregate plan was being kept in multiple multi-tab Excel workbooks with all kinds of links and formulas. This process required several manual steps to update and distribute the plans throughout the organization. So our challenges were, this process was time intensive, taking 8+ hours per plan without any revisions. So if new machines or processes or shifts had to be added, that was additional time. Our flexibility was limited. Analysis was limited. Additional processes were needed to do any type of analysis. We had no easy way to look at trends or take snapshots. We couldn't slice and dice or see results in real time. Another issue was that this data was decentralized. Our global assumptions had to be repeated in each plan and synced up every month. In order to prep for the monthly plan, the business would open up the prior month Excel files with SharePoint and then follow the instructions shown here to prepare the plan for the new month. Once we opened the prior month plans, we saved the files under the current month name, and then we began pulling in the new data. We would execute Cognos reports for inventory, excess inventory, and the sales forecast. We would then copy and paste the data from these 3 files to the corresponding Excel tabs in our new plan workbooks. We would repeat this process for each of the 3 plan types: fall protection, boxes, and climbing. Now that we have updated data in the new Excel files, we would need to update the calendar for the number of workdays and months to be included. To do this, we would go to the Inventory tab in the plan, find the calendar in columns K through M, copy rows 3 through 19, and paste them in rows 2 through 18. Then enter the number of the month in row 19 at the bottom and the number of workdays for that new month. This isn't too bad here, it's all manual, pretty simple to update and maintain. But then, once we've updated the calendar, we now have to update the Corporate Summary tab, which is where we do all of our planning. So when I go to this tab, I now have data that was related to May of 2017 showing up for June of 2017. So to get the file ready, I need to copy and paste all of the data to the correct months, making sure that, number 1, I only copy the data that has values and not the calculations. But number 2, if there are any calculations that I modified, maybe adding a new line shift, I need to make sure that those calculations are moved up. This is the last step before we begin to actually plan. It is certainly the most time-consuming and the most prone to manual errors. And this is just for a basic monthly update. Should we introduce a new process, which you see here listed in column A, that would bring up a number of updates to calculations in all of the tabs in this Excel spreadsheet. So now I can begin entering information by month in the Corporate Summary tab. I will need to scroll down to ensure that I update information for each of the 18 months that we plan production. The goal for our production aggregate plan is to optimize production for each of our processes. by keeping it as even as possible for the planning periods, while making sure we don't run out of inventory. In order to track this in the Excel planning process, we need to create two separate tabs, which are shown here. The first tab is organize the data by process and key metric. The second tab charts the key metrics, which are inventory, target, production and demand, all by process. These charts help us to ensure that we are meeting the demand without running out of inventory, or having too much inventory, or having to adjust production without major fluctuations that would increase cost, have to add additional shifts, or possibly pay overtime. So as you can see, not only are these tabs extremely busy, should we add a new process, we'd have to add a new section to the detail and to a new chart. If we wanted to start planning out further than 18 months, each detail section and chart would have to be modified. In summary of this Excel process, I had to navigate multiple Excel tabs in order to plan and analyze the data. In the words of our business user, before planning analytics, I felt like I had to start the plan from scratch each and every month. Now Sue's going to tell us about the solution we came up with.
Thanks, Amanda. Before we get into the details of the solution, I did want to answer a couple of questions for you. For Werner, first, why the cloud? Well, why? Because it is one of their strategic goals to get information out to the cloud. They feel that moving to the cloud would ultimately save them time and dollars, as well as enable them to better serve their customers. And the second question was, why planning analytics for the Prod Ag plan? Well, first, because it's a proven solution at Werner. They have experience there with the on-prem TM1. It's a solution that works for them, and it's a trusted solution at Werner Co. So we decided to go directly to the cloud for the Prod Ag plan. We already had our cloud architecture ready to go. We had the IBM Secure Gateway ready. We had hooks already into Netezza so that we could pull that data from Netezza into our TM1 cubes or Planning Analytics cubes in the cloud, and then serve that out to our business users either through Planning Analytics Workspace or Planning Analytics for Excel. Now, we were able to start directly with Planning Analytics for Excel because these were new end users who did not have Cafe already installed on their PCs. Then we began to design our Planning Analytics application for the Prod Ag plan. And we knew we needed to design and provide a solution which would remove all of those manual processes that Amanda just spoke about, reduce the time it took for the business to update and prep their plans. We wanted to remove that duplication of data so that they didn't have to keep their global assumptions in 3 different places. We also wanted to improve the flexibility for them to expand these plans, automate that, make it easy for them to add new manufacturing processes. And we also needed to provide capabilities for reporting and analysis of these plans. So what did we do? The first thing we did was get rid of a lot of those manual processes. We created Planning Analytics Turbo Integrator processes to pull the data directly from Netezza, that inventory information, the excess inventory, and sales forecast that they were copying and pasting from Cognos reports, now pulled directly from Netezza. We created TI processes to update the calendar as well as many of their dimensions. So if a new manufacturing process was added to their source system, it automatically flowed to Netezza and automatically came into Planning Analytics. We provided centralized business rules for all 3 of their current plan types. And those business rules will also be applied to additional plan types should they need to add additional plan types to their process. We also added an adjustments queue, and this was used to capture those adjustments if they needed to add a new line shift sometime in the future of those 18 months that they were planning for. So we would capture the adjustment as well as the start date so that we could ultimately incorporate that into their base data when needed. And finally, we provided the users access to Planning Analytics Workspace and Planning Analytics for Excel to do their reporting and analysis. So the first thing we needed to do was enable the business users to automate or to still have control over prepping for the plan. And how we did this was we created a Planning Analytics for Excel workbook where they could come out and simply walk through these 8 steps to prep their plan for the next month. Step 1 gives them a button that they can push and it will capture a snapshot of the current plan. So it basically just archives that for them. They don't need to copy and paste multiple Excel workbooks. Once they get that plan archived, step 2 is to pull in any new manufacturing processes that might have been added to the source system. So we're updating their metadata. Step number 3 updates their calendar so that we automatically know which 18 months the data is automatically related to the correct month. Step number 4 takes into consideration all of those adjustments that we talked about, where we take a look at, are we at the starting point for that adjustment? And if we are, we just take that adjustment value, push it back into their global assumptions, and that now becomes their new base data because they've added that new machine, they've added that new line shift. They don't have to manually do that anymore. Now we've got everything prepped and we can start to load the data, the sales forecast, the inventory, and the excess inventory just by clicking steps 6, 7, and 8. So the total time that it took to preserve the prior month plan and prep the application is now down to 8 to 10 minutes versus that 8 hours that we were talking about earlier. So this is their new look and feel to update this plan. What we did was consolidate everything that they needed for a given process onto one page, right? Their goal is to keep that production for these processes even. So now we have it all visible to them here in one page. All of the months are on the rows because we focused on one process. They can see all of those at one time. They can see all of their key metrics across the top. And we even have those key charts visible to them. As the end users enter data into the plan, all of the calculations are performed in real time and all of the charts are also updated in real time. So since it's all here, it's very easy for them to see where there may be spikes in production for a specific process, and they can quickly and easily modify that plan to avoid the issues and optimize their production. All right, let's talk a little bit about the benefits that Werner Co. gained. And we're going to start by benefits that they gained in moving to the cloud. First, the server maintenance and upgrades are all handled by the IBM cloud team. Amanda still has input as to when the upgrades will take place. She also has time to test those new versions, but the actual software installation and configuration is all handled by IBM. End users had immediate access to Planning Analytics Workspace, allowing them to explore their data, create dashboards, and share that information right away throughout the organization. Moving to the cloud also brought a reduction of hardware in the Werner Co. data center, and all of these are bringing additional time and cost savings to Werner Co. Benefits gained through migrating this product plan from that Excel-based planning to Planning Analytics. First and foremost, we provided the business with a centralized solution. They now have one centralized place for global inputs and a centralized place to capture those adjustments. The centralized business rules in Planning Analytics and the metadata, centralized metadata, reduces the time it takes to maintain Werner Co. application as their business grows and changes as they have new acquisitions. And we have one centralized location to keep the plan versions so that they can easily compare these versions and do some month-to-month analysis. We also provided the business time savings in the time it takes them to prep and update their plan. Because all of the plans are now in one application, there's no need to repeat the same steps in multiple Excel files. We automated the loading of the data so they don't have to run Cognos reports and copy and paste. And we also automated that manual task of updating the calendar, as well as taking a look at those adjustments when they should become their base data and rolling that right into their global assumptions for them. So the time to prep and update the product plan, as I said, was reduced from approximately 8 hours to 20 minutes to get all of this accomplished. We also provided the business with the ability to easily and quickly create ad hoc plans or what-if scenarios. Shortly after we went live, the business came to us and said, hey, we have an opportunity to bring on some additional volume, and we'd like to run a what-if scenario. Could we do that in planning analytics? At which point, Amanda and I looked at each other and said, sure. We simply gave the business the ability to add an ad hoc version. They copied their current plan into that ad hoc version, all with the buttons that we have out there, and then they could make modifications. They could see where they would have spikes. They could see where they would run out of inventory. So they were able to quickly and easily update their plan so that they could manage this new volume and understand what the cost was to Werner Co. A few other benefits: we improve the ease of expandability. So by having that automated pool of the metadata, so new processes, new locations, they could quickly pull that in. Those centralized business rules took care of it. We didn't have to add new calculations. We were also now able to start looking at our plans by location. So prior to planning analytics, if a location had processes in multiple plans, how could I get an overall view of that location? I had to create another Excel workbook, link back to those three to get a consolidated location look. Now it's simply just an aggregation. We slice and dice that in planning analytics. We also have the ability to plan for more months. We simply say we'd like to use 24 months rather than 18, and all of those business rules apply. And then finally, we improve the analysis, where they can now see the trends for those 18 months, or if they plan for 24 months, they can quickly see that without having to update all of their charts. They can look at current month versus prior month. And since we've now given them, we've reduced the time it takes for them to plan, they have more time for analysis. And as they begin to have more time for analysis, they see that they can do more, like compare their plan to their actuals or look at plan accuracy. Again, shortly after we went live, they came back and they told us that they would like to take a look at plan accuracy. Amanda and I spent about an hour designing a new cube, and then Amanda put that into play. She was able to quickly create a scorecard cube, pulling in actual metrics such as units shipped and units produced, combining in the plan units so that the business could now start taking a look at their plan accuracy. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Amanda now and allow her to talk about some of their future plans.
Okay, some of our plans moving forward include expanding the prod aggregate plan that we've just shown you. The business has asked for a long-term 5-year plan, which is first on the agenda, and then next they want a daily plan, which will eventually roll up into the monthly plan. Also, the business was recently trained on Cognos Analytics. We've upgraded as of a few weeks ago, and we already have users asking us if they can integrate the two and use CA on top of planning analytics cubes to create operationalized reports and push those reports out to the organization. Also, part of our future plans include getting the rest of our on-prem applications to the cloud. And we are working with our IT group to get packs installed in a Citrix environment so that users can continue testing the on-prem applications for the cloud. Some of the lessons that we learned along the way. Number one that we just talked about is the cafe and PAX issue where they both can't be on the same PC. Hopefully the Citrix will be a good solution for us on that. We also encountered some quirky behaviors of PAX. Users complaining of drop-downs that won't populate, errors when creating dynamic reports. They also complained of a slow to log into files. Through some testing, we determined that if the user would log into PAX prior to opening these large files, the load time was much faster. The users also complained about columns not updating dynamically, which is just a function of PAX at this time. But with each release, the functionality of PAX is getting better and better. Also, one of the hurdles that we faced was initially when we looked at the plan the users had in Excel, we thought that Planning Analytics Workspace was going to be the best interface for them. But once the users got in there, they were very unhappy with the handling of the details of the data in Planning Analytics Workspace and the response time. So essentially, the user was much more comfortable in Excel anyway. So PAX was the go-to solution for us. And since Go Live, the user's taken over the maintenance of the plans and is just maintaining the files and distributing them to the business.
Okay, so that is our story for today. If there's anyone on the webinar who would like additional information around planning analytics or would like to see a demo, please reach out to us. Or if you are a current TM1 or planning analytics customer looking for assistance in upgrading, maybe migrating to the cloud as Werner did, training or expanding planning analytics within your organization. As I said, please reach out to us at sales@lpa.com. We would be happy to talk to you and help you out. Okay, so we're going to move into the question and answers portion of the webinar. Again, if we don't get to your question today, please be sure that you have it entered into the chat window, and we will get back to you within the next couple of days. So the first question that we have, you mentioned that you're going to install PAX on Citrix. It was my understanding that PAX was designed to work on local PCs and not have to be installed on Citrix. That is a true statement. The only reason that Werner Co. is looking to install PAX on Citrix is for a testing environment. We don't want to take Cafe off of the end user's PCs right now because they're still using it, but they need a place to test moving their applications to the cloud and using PAX. All right, next question. How long did it take to implement? I'm going to start by answering the first part of this question, and then I'm going to ask Amanda to answer the second part. We started this project with a 3 to 4 week POC. And at the end of that POC, where I led all of the development, we had a working portion of the solution, which we shared with the business, and they chose to move forward. As we move forward, I moved into an advisor role, and Amanda actually did all of the development at this point. So I'm going to let her speak to the remaining time that it took to complete this project.
We estimate that it took about 8 weeks of work time for the project to be completed and put into production. Keep in mind that this was my first experience with planning analytics and development in this tool, so I was learning as we went with a lot of help from Sue for guidance. We also had some scope creep along the way, which always happens, and additional features needed to be added as we went along. But in total, it was about 8 weeks of work time.
So 8 weeks of Amanda's time and 3 to 4 weeks of my time. So around 12 weeks to complete the entire project. Okay, we have time for one more question today. You mentioned that the business user is able to manage the application. Are there any scenarios where you would need to manage the application? So when we say that business user is managing the application, that is 100% true. They are managing all of their versions. They are managing pulling in new data, updating the plan, The only time, and I'm assuming you means IT or Amanda, the only time where we would get involved is should there be a major change to the business rules and we need to update the turbo integrator processes or we need to update the centralized business rules. Now that's here at Werner. They chose to have Amanda be that person. There are some customers that we have where it's a finance person that plays that role. Okay, that is all the time we have today. Any questions that are currently in the chat window, we will capture and provide a response back to you. We'd like to thank you all for your time today.